boys and girls, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and ladies and gentlemen, this is the review of Netflix brand new black comedy Kaos, which is loosely based. Well, I ain't gonna say loosely, heavily based on Greek mythology. This show stars Jeff Goldblum, Janet McTeer, Cliff Curtis, just to name a few. And in this show, an all-powerful yet insecure god Zeus starts to fear his end of reign once he notices a wrinkle on his forehead, probably indicating the end of the world. He becomes paranoid and vengeful towards his devotees. Meanwhile, three humans start to discover their connections to each other and grand conspiracies involving the Greek gods. I was interested in this show for a number of reasons. One, I'm a Greek mythology nut. I that's one of the things in school that was taught, and it actually stuck. it was I don't know what it was, but it was something about it that just stuck with me, and I've always been fascinated by Greek mythology. And so whenever they do a version of it, rather whatever media, it could be comic books, TV, movies, whatever, I'm all in. You know, Clash of the Titans and all this other stuff. I love that story. I love all of those tales that come out of that. And so this was right up my alley. And then they're setting this in a modern time. This is like a alternate universe, if you will, an alternate reality that it's present, that we're dealing with these issues and whatnot that's taking place in this show. Also, this should have been the number one factor. Jeff Goldblum as Zeus. That sign me up, take my money, automatic, right there. I mean, Jeff Goldblum is a national treasure, and he should be protected at all costs, people. I love Jeff Goldblum. And the third and final thing that had my attention was Netflix. With this type of material, Netflix does an excellent job. Shows like this, they normally knock it out the park, especially the first season. If they don't get it right the first season, it isn't worth watching on Netflix. But if they get that first season right, you're in for a treat that first season. This first season has 8 episodes. Normally it's 10, but it was just 8 here, and I think that was perfect for this show. Spoiler alert, not for the show, but for this review. I love this show. All 8 episodes were excellent in my humble opinion. There wasn't an episode where you could say, well, they could have kept that one, or this was a filler episode to get to the end. No, every episode had a point, had a meaning. All the characters had a point, had a meaning. I mean, everything just clicked. This was a well written show, well put together show. This comes from creator Charlie Covell, who I haven't seen any of his other work, but he did an excellent job here, man. I mean, this was a well put together show. I mean, you're pulling from a source material here, so it's not like you can deviate too much. Well, you could, but he didn't. It really stuck with Greek mythology, and all the Greek gods in this show are pretty much what you think the Greek gods are. You know, if it was 2024 in this era, and it fits so well. Yeah, there were some changes. There were little nuances that they changed from Greek mythology, of course, but it fit. It actually fit. Let's jump into the actors, the performers in this show. Hey, let's start with the big grand poobah of them all, Zeus, played by Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum, at points, when this show first started, the first couple of episodes, you was like, okay, this is kind of a parody. And it came off as a little parody, but good parody, not really making fun of the material, but it just was lighthearted. But it makes sense once the show goes on. It builds to this crescendo at the end where it's not a parody. It gets dark, and it gets dark real quick, and it's earned. It's not just a turn on a dime with Zeus. It's gradually things are happening around him that turns him vengeful, that turns him into this evil guy. And it was a beauty to watch Jeff Goldblum. It was like he was born to play this. It's amazing that he finally got this type of role. Jeff Goldblum has been gracing the silver screen for well over 40 years that I can remember, because I remember when I was a little chap watching him in The Fly. He was around then, and I was what, about 5 or 6 years old when that came out, and he was in films before that. But in this particular role, it's like we got all of Jeff Goldblum. We got him we got the comedy aspect of Jeff Goldblum. We got the serious Jeff Goldblum. We got the mad, the charming, all the elements. We got it all in one role. And I'm pretty sure he's done it in roles before. I just never noticed like this. This really stuck out. And the way that character was written and the way it was performed was just amazing. Love Jeff Goldblum. Janet McTeer as Hera I liked her in the role. She has a presence as well as this queen, as this heartless, well, not human being, but heartless god. She struck more fear in me than Zeus, and I guess that was the way it was supposed to be, and it worked. They did a good job. She was really cold-hearted, didn't care at all. Cliff Curtis as Poseidon. I love Cliff Curtis. He's another one of these quote-unquote character actors who makes every film better that he pops up in. Quite honestly, all the actors did an excellent job. If I have one flaw with the acting, nobody really outshined anybody else. No, there was no standout. Everybody was pretty much on par, and I don't know if that was by design, which it isn't a problem. I'm saying it as if it is, but there wasn't. It's not really a problem. It was just the fact that nobody stuck out to like, oh man, this is their show, other than Jeff Goldblum, but he's Zeus, so you expect that. So that's not that's all right. But as far as the human characters and the kind of lesser guys, none of them really stuck out, even though they all did an excellent job. The look of this show was beautifully shot. This was well directed. All 8 episodes were well directed. I don't know if the same director did every episode, but it looked gorgeous. The scale was gorgeous. The tone and pace was great. There was an episode in here, I want to say either episode 4 or 5, where they did kind of like a flashback, but the way they did the flashback was so smart and innovative. It was genius the way they did it. It was like a old 90s sitcom, and they had the laugh track with the camera movements and stuff like it. It was funny, but it was such a serious topic that they were talking about. But for some strange reason, they made it work. Which brings me to another positive: the comedy. The comedy works. This is a true black comedy. There are a lot of dark undertones in this show. We're talking about vengeful gods and people in the underworld and stuff of that nature. It's very dark, but yet it's still a lot of levity, to whereas it's not depressing. Even the underworld wasn't depressing, but I loved how they differentiated, if that's how you say it, the underworld from the rest of the world. All of that was filmed in black and white when you're in the underworld. And I thought that was so unique because in the past, all these other films and TV shows, whenever you see hell or the underworld, Hades, wherever, it's fire, it's brimstone, it's dystopian looking and all this here. But not this go around. This was just a black and white landscape. And it looked even more depressing than just fire everywhere and all this here. And I thought that was genius. Um, like I said, I'm pretty sure there are films or TV shows that have shown that in the past. I never noticed it, and this was the first time that I've noticed it, and I like the way it was done here. When it comes to my negatives of Chaos, it's not too many, maybe one or two. One glaring negative is there's a couple of characters in this show, and without going into spoilers too much, that didn't get any screen time that I would have loved to have seen more of. It was a group, two particular groups that play an important role to the conspiracy or the plan that was unfolding against Zeus, and they weren't in it that much. They did pop up a couple of times, but that was it. They should have been more into the story. I felt that was pretty much it. I mean, granted, did they need them in there? No, they really didn't need them in there. But you introduced them. If you're going to introduce characters into this story and show that they are important in some shape, form, or fashion, you should have showed them more. That's that's just my humble opinion. But that was a negative. There was one storyline that just infuriated me, and I need to go back and touch up on my Greek mythology a little bit, because I vaguely remember this story that they adapted for this show. If you can't tell, I'm tiptoeing around it because I don't want to spoil it, but it's there's a storyline that runs through this entire season here, and at the end of this particular storyline, the results are not what you wanted. I mean, you got the result that you was wishing for, but it's not the one that you wanted. Particularly, it's weird. It's hard for me to explain it, but you know it when you see it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It lasts the entire season. So it's like you go through this long journey and you get to the end. Yes, you finish the journey, but your feet are bleeding. That's the best metaphor I can use, right? That I can come up with on the top of my head. But yeah, I didn't like the results of that particular storyline, but it is what it is. Besides that, those were my only two quote unquote gripes about the show. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It set you up for season 2. That's why I don't want to spoil anything. And so hopefully, prayerfully, Zeus will grant us a second season of Chaos, because I'm giving it a B plus. It's awesome, man. This is a solid B plus show. Very fun to watch. Watched it in one sitting, all 8 episodes. Couldn't stop watching it. I was doing some chores in the house, cleaning up and stuff. And I just put this on in the background. You know how you do. You put something on in the background while you're cleaning up and whatnot. I didn't finish cleaning up. I sat down because I was into it. I was completely into it. I still got to go finish cleaning. But it's all good. Yes. Chaos, currently on Netflix, gets a B plus. I would love to know, what did you think of Chaos on Netflix? Did you check it out? Did you like it? Are you into Greek mythology? Or have you not checked it out? Didn't know nothing about it? And maybe I convinced you to watch it. I would love to hear that too. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Also, don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Chaos, currently on Netflix. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.